Alright, what's up guys? We're gonna do another replay review today. Let me just turn my streamer mode on Discord so it's not making noises. There we go. So we're gonna do a replay review today of a game versus a play in-game named Fagnar, um, also known as Beta Slicer, also known as Beta Noob, one of my Patreon supporters. So this is dedicated to him. Big thank you for the support. So we're gonna first have a look at the division that he plays as, or the division build. And wow, that's some nice emoting there, real nice. So one thing I have to say first is that we did play the tactical mode, so we got reduced points, reduced income. So that does affect how you should also build your division. So that being said, let's have a look. This is Grip Hard Neck. I of course played as a Rapana because I don't know how to play any other division. That's a joke, kind of. And so let's review. Let's see here. We'll have a look at my division build right after this. Let's start with the recon. So what kind of stuff does Grip Hardneck get? Not much. They do get the VK9s. These are nice. Do like these. Very nice recon tanks. Okay, brings it with the vet. You know, when you're playing tactical, most of the time you want to bring things with vet because you're not going to have the points most of the time to buy everything anyway. Evan is how you'd prefer to be called. Okay, Evan, also known, Fagnar, also known as Beta Slicer, also known as Beta Noob, also known as Evan. Thank you for the support. So let's see the recon units here. So these Kosakan, full 12 strength infantry squad. No vet taken on these, but that's fine. 3 in A, 20 points is pretty good actually. 12-man squad for 20 points. Damn, actually that's good value for points. Okay. Now this kind of sticks out to me as not being worth it. The BMW with the MG34. The reason it's not that good is, you know, you put an MG on an infantry unit, and the infantry unit usually comes with a squad. So if we say we look at the Cossack in here, okay, although they're using a DP28, it's an LMG just the same, right? The thing is they have 12 strength. They get hit by something, they will take some damage, but that machine gun will still keep firing. Whereas the BMWs, they get hit, they're dead. That's it. They're just a vehicle, no armor, nothing like that. Even just a stray explosion will take them out the game. Well, we can use them as a radio unit. A lot of time, I think we can fulfill that function anyway with other units if we're a bit careful with them. For example, the leaders here also have a radio. As long as we keep them alive, they will still cast that radio radius, right? So maybe this one I would have personally taken out and put something else in somewhere else. The infantry, let's see, we've got the right Jaeger. This is the CQC infantry squad, 9 MP40s and a Panzerfaust, but only 3 rifles. So if they get caught into a long-range engagement and you let them just use their rifles, they're probably just gonna trade badly and get torn up a bit, chewed up. Because they will stop. You know, if we're using a Q move with these units and they get into this 500-meter range here, they will use that and they will sit there firing their 3 rifles while not doing much and definitely losing to another infantry squad, for example, like Panzer Grenadiers that have 7 rifles and some LMGs. So using these correctly, not these ones, using these correctly is, you know, something we have to keep in mind. I think probably overall I would prefer to take the Jaeger Pioneers instead. Now they don't come with submachine guns, but they do come with 3 HE shells. These HE shells I think do about 8 damage. So versus a say a Panzer Grenadier squad takes out 8 out of 10 men, and the squad will be suppressed as well. Easy to mop up the remaining 2 guys. Um, and this is 6 at 1 vet versus you would take 5 at 0 vet because veterancy is not going to affect these frag grenades. That's what we're taking them for really is this. And they can perform reasonably well as a standard rifle squad as well on top of that. We also have the Stostrup, which is a small squad, 5 strength only, Molotov cocktails. But they can come in these Horch 108s, which you can make some plays with at the start of the game due to their extra speed. They get 90 road speed compared to the Opel Blitz 80, for example. So you can actually get these Stostrup into locations that you couldn't get other units into. Just a sec, I'm gonna pour myself some coffee. I do this. Once I talk a lot, I start losing my voice. Okay. But either way, we've got line infantry, we've got the MP44 squads, which perform that nice 300-meter intermediate range engagement thing. Used well, they do a lot of damage, especially in towns where you can get those 300-meter ranges. They can really delete units, and in this game they did delete some units in quite amusing ways. So overall, I'd say it fulfills the function of what I would say I would want in a phase for infantry. Line infantry, CQC infantry. If you have the option for those MP44s, they are always a flex pick to take, and a leader is, of course, it's always a strong option. So overall, it's pretty solid, but personally, I would take the grenade over the right Jaegers. In B phase, he has the name of these guys that I will not try to pronounce, and I will just call them gullies. 3 LMGs is really, really good. Nice, strong squad. 16 men in the squad as well. Beautiful. But then we come to an issue. The issue here, I would say, is that although we have the MP44s, there's no dedicated CQC infantry squad in B. And I personally, if I'm playing a balanced income, and this is balanced, I want at least one line infantry and one CQC infantry in every phase, because that way you can contest all the areas. You can contest the open areas with your infantry, and you can contest the CQC areas with your CQC infantry too. MP44s, being as great as they are, they still will lose to dedicated CQC infantry in those close quarters engagements. So that's a bit of an issue here, I would say. And then we do have more CQC infantry in C, but then there's no line infantry. So this is, although there is a reasonable infantry tab here, in total it's only 63 units. I'd say for a balanced division, it's a bit low. Oh, hello Fantix, nice to see you again. Thanks for the follow, man, appreciate that. So when we're looking at this here, like we do have to take into consideration that it's tactical as well. So tactical, we can reduce however many units we would usually bring by 25%, let's say, because we'll only add 0.75 income. So 25% less income, you're going to buy 25% less units. You can reduce that with the veterancy. Still, I would say on average for a balanced division, 100 infantry units is probably standard. Reduce it down by 25%, you get 75. 63 is a little bit below that. And, if you have the supporting equipment and you know how to use them well, you can make it work. But I think it's a little bit low, and especially the line infantry missing from C, I would say something I would want. Then the tank tab takes the T-34s in A. Now I think most of the time, what most people say, what most people agree, is that the T-34s, they function well at 0 vet. They're just a kind of medium fast infantry support tank, and they're cheap. And so you just want as many of them as you can get. And the other thing is that a phase, I mean, I think this is something that people often like. Oh, QQ Taser, hello, nice to see you here as well. Got a whole party going on now. So what I'm saying is that, in a phase, I think something that's easy to forget is that a phase is not 10 minutes of points. A phase is your deployment points and a phase. So actually, in most cases, you get the most points in a phase compared to the other phases in almost all cases. Like if we consider the the balanced income 110 times 10 minutes, 1,100 plus 750, although we're playing tactical, so it's 500. So this is 1,600 points in A. 1,600 points, and here we've only got 4 tanks, both for that deployment and those 10 minutes, taking up those 1,600 points. I'm not sure it's enough tanks, so I would probably have reduced this down to 0 vet, or maybe also brought Stuk 3s as well, or instead, but I think these are a pretty good choice for A phase, so maybe it would be an as well kind of thing. Now the one vet Tigers I would agree with, especially playing tactical. Not really going to need to spend that many points on tanks, or that many more points on tanks if you're playing a 0.5 income. This is going to be a 10v10 tactical game. No, actually, this is a 1v1 tactical game that we already played yesterday, and I'm just going to review the replay from Fagnar's point of view, and we're going to look at how he played, what decisions he made with the deployment, what he can see from his point of view, and then we're going to think about what would you do in that situation? If this is what you can see, if this is what's available to you, what would you have chosen to do? And then we'll see what happens and what the outcome was. So the support tab, okay, MG42's double vet, fine. Probably the Stu 42, again, I would have taken a 0 vet just to have one more of them. These are nice support guns with their 105mm. Double vet MG in B, okay, I can agree. Maybe would have taken these in A. These are nice support tanks, very cheap. You bring these in with some infantry, and depending on the division you're playing against, this can be a great way to support and push against some enemy divisions in certain places where it's difficult to get an anti-tank gun onto them. But the one thing that's lacking here, I think, is a supply truck. Supply truck, I think in most cases, is pretty much mandatory. Like, you can't not take one. So, like, if we took the BMW out here, we would get 2 points, and we could then take the supply truck instead, right? Probably in B, sometimes in A is nice. And usually B is better because you can, for example, bring your mortars in A, and they run out of ammo, and then in B, once B hits, you bring out a supply truck, you get them going again. Often they have enough ammo to get you through most of A phase anyway. Okay, so then we have the anti-tank tab. Let's have a look. Supply was in my multi-moon truck, half trucks towing various guns. Yeah, I saw like this one. Here you have the multi-moon. The problem here is though, like, most of the time I would argue against doing it like this, because when you want to buy an anti-tank gun, do you want to have to spend an extra 40 points for a supply truck that you don't need? Because you don't always need them both at the same time. Sometimes you just want the anti-tank gun, sometimes you just want the supply truck. But when you put them together, you force yourself to spend extra points, and you force yourself to have those extra points available, not having been spent, in order to get just one of the things that you actually want. So most of the time, it's better and it's more flexible to have it, just available by itself. What do these Kosakin do? These are anti-tank rifle squads, okay. They work well against very lightly armored things, I guess. Jagdpanzer, love this tank. Beautiful headset. But only 11 HE shells, and against Rapana you're gonna struggle unless you resupply it with a supply truck, which again is tied into these units in B phase. Difficult to get. No Pack 40 in A, which against Rapana I can understand. I mean, if you just customize your division when you know what division you're going to be playing against, some of the decisions, like this doesn't, in some ways, it doesn't look great in terms of in terms of utility against any division when you're playing, like, let's say solo queue and you don't know what you're gonna be against. But if you know what you're against, then like I wouldn't disagree too strongly with this. Yeah, this is tailored, right? So I can't argue too strongly against this. I might have put these in A just to have something because I don't know, like I'm missing the long range HE throwers. You've just got the Stu 42, but there's only one of them. You've got the MG 42s, but it's just 1250 range. Do these have 1500 on the HE? Oh, they have the indirect fire, so they could fire as far as they want, really. Okay, then we have the anti-air. I probably would have swapped these around. And I probably would have also used the third tab as well against Rapana because they have so many planes. Like if we take these out and we throw these in A instead, we take the flak trucks, of course, and then we throw these in B, two of these in B, and we take the third point there as well by rearranging something else. These these flak veerlings are amazing. So good at shooting things down, so strong. A little bit flimsy. You gotta keep them protected, out of line of sight, but so good at shooting things down. And against an air-heavy division, definitely worth it, I would say. Then the artillery tab, okay, three mortars with one vet. If it's tactical, fine. I can agree. Takes the off map in A. I might take this in B. Like most of the time, you want to off map once your opponent has built up some units, like to get the most value out of these huge explosions. I thought you were playing quick play, but then I didn't say anything. But then the Hetzer is not necessary in my opinion. Um, yeah, I mean against Rapana, I would say Hetzers are not super necessary because, with the 105 armor and the 145 mil penetration, the APCR, these are fantastic tank killers. But Rapana doesn't really have any tanks. They have the BAF-C, the light recon vehicle, and they have the T-26, which is made of paper. So I'm not sure there would be so much use to get out of the Hetzers in the game. But at the same time, sometimes you just want to play the game for fun, right? And personally, I love tigers, I love hetzers, and so just bringing them out for fun sometimes, even if it's not like the most super efficient thing, like it's still fun, you can still have fun with the game, see your favorite tank, shoot some things with it. You can go in with an empty AT tab even. Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean, Fantix. I know what you mean. Tigers and Hetzers and MP44 to the grave. Exactly. I think I understand what Evan means, and I think Evan understands what I mean. You know, um, we're not playing competitively. We're playing for fun. And I think that's something that we shouldn't forget about Steel Division is that it's a game and we play for fun. Like, there are a lot of people who like to play really, really competitively and need every single thing in the division build to be absolutely 100% correct and efficient and useful and things like that. And that's fine. Like, that's also an enjoyable way to play the game against other people and test yourself and your knowledge and how things work. Cool. It's also fun. But it's not the only way people like to play. So, we do have to keep in mind, I think, like, how serious is the game? So I think I was saying here that this off map, like again, if we're playing the balanced income type, and especially with the whole idea that we use it against build-ups, against concentrations of enemy units, most of the time your opponent isn't going to have a big build-up of units in A phase, or at least not until towards the end of A phase. In which case, then, if you bring it in B phase, you can get two of these, and you can get twice as many off maps going. I just saw that this also has the armored um, mortars. These are also a pretty solid choice. 40 points more though because it has the MG on it is something I don't really like about this particular iteration. And then these big bad boys. I love heavy artillery. Look at that. Look at that. Looks like a clown cannon. It could shoot clowns right out of it. Yeah, well, might be me to be super efficient. Yeah, Fantex, I think you are one of those people who likes to play competitively, and you like to play against the other really good competitive players. I think I've seen enough of your replays to know that. I was trying to play competitively though. I wasn't gonna cede ground until the bitter end. Yeah, I noticed that it was not an easy win. And Kukuteza agreed. Yeah. But sometimes we just want to play for fun, right? Let's enjoy ourselves, but we everybody enjoys themselves in a different way. So this again with the supply truck is costing you a lot of points, but actually can you bring it in anything else? Are there any other options for this? Or it's only the supply truck? If it's only supply truck, I guess there's nothing, no way around that really, is there? But 210 is beautiful, beautiful gun. Big booms. Right, then we have the air tab here. Immediately here, what I would disagree with is so many fighters, and especially at double vet. Most of the time, the veterancy on planes doesn't really do much, or you don't get enough out of it to make it worth it. Because like Eugen makes such a janky game that although the veterancy says better agility, it doesn't actually. I think it doesn't actually make them turn faster or anything like that. I think it does give them a passive stat of, I think what's called dodge chance, something like 15% for one vet, and then up from there, and that just gives them a passive chance to avoid incoming fire, which is okay. But if we take these out, for example, take out these, and we just put one of them in B phase, we've still got four of them, and we've got another slot too, where we could potentially throw a heavy bomber. And just having the heavy bombers available in C phase is a bit inflexible, I would say. Like we we generally want to have things, in our divisions, or at least this is how I think about it, is we want to have the things in our divisions not because we are going to use them, but so that we can use them if the situation presents itself. So if we restrict all our bombers to C phase, that's 20 minutes where anytime a high value target presents itself and is not defended by fighters or anti-air, this high value target is going to sit there, and it's going to sit there freely, and you won't be able to get it because you don't have the heavy bomber to just fly over and take it out. And that can be, I think, a little bit frustrating and can have a little bit more impact on games than we would like. But then that's it for this division. So let's tab out here. How am I supposed to counter battery fighters tailored to opponent because you dominate the sky? Okay, vet matters more and air fighters for cap. For cap. My Blenheim bombers are restricted to B2. Actually, I have Blenheim bombers in A as well, I think. Let's see, where's my division? Yeah, I have Blenheims in A, and then I have the JU in B. So I didn't really change much of my division for this. This is pretty much the same division I use for normal non-tactical modes anyway. Combat air patrol, fighters patrolling for enemy contact. Ah, I see. Yeah, I guess having those extra fighters when you're lacking in the AA is going to be pretty helpful. I think you did shoot down a few of my planes. So I've got the line infantry, CQC infantry, leader, CQC line, CQC line, the Sissy, which are just beautiful, beautiful recon squads, the double snipers, which are amazing, and then some Rajakari, sorry, that's the way the name goes, right? With the nice Molotov cocktails, nice extra CQC availability without pushing the influence line. Some infantry guns in A, another infantry gun, or let's say this is an Omni roll. It's got heat shells with 90mm penetration, 1500-meter range, but only 30% accuracy, but it can get hits. And then pretty weak AP, and the HE shells, but only 12, but still 1500-meter range, 12 rounds a minute. Let me just see if you can see that without me. Yeah, okay. You can see those stats just above my camera. Then the Lottie, the Panzerschrecks, and the bigger Panzerschreck squads in B. Didn't actually use much of those. Plenty of anti-air. Use these 122 millimeters as my anti-tank guns for the bigger tanks. Take them all in B, because usually I can get through A without these, and so the extra availability is nice. I give up the win within 5 to 7 minutes, guys. It goes for 40. And then 2 cars of fighters, bunch of anti-tank rocket planes, because I don't really have many options for anti-tank beyond these, or at least for like heavy tanks. Like all of these anti-tank guns have really low penetration on their AP shells. These have heat shells, which are really nice, but there's only 8 of them. In a long game, you know, they can get taken out, and so just having these planes for that extra long range anti-tank, I find, comes in pretty handy. Okay, so let's find this this replay down here somewhere. Here we go. Right, let's just fast forward. Let's look at Evan's view. And yeah, this is his side of the map. Actually, I remember from watching the replay last night that the Kosakan recon squads got some very nice lines of sight and actually survived for, I think, almost all, if not all, the game. Which APCR pack 50 millimeter. Yeah, but I think the APCR on those 50 millimeters is only 1,000-meter range, which is a bit of a problem. Like once you get to that kind of range, then it's almost into MG range. The tanks get better accuracy, the more likely to damage the anti-tank gun. So it's not the best kind of range to be fighting tanks most of the time. I mean, it does work, but also the other problem is that the APCR does less damage than a normal AP round, so it has to both hit and penetrate and do that more times than a normal AP shell in order to get the kill. So we get a lot of infantry going into the town here. Nice recon plane spots the incoming trucks here. Now this for me here, this side here, I would say is an issue. Like we immediately see like there's starting to be a bulge here, because the Kosakan is a recon squad. It doesn't affect the influence line. So what we're going to see here is probably some kind of ballooning. I think this is a little bit conservative in terms of deployment. So nothing on the right side here. Or nothing yet, anyway. So we get the stew. Doesn't quite have the range or the line of sight down the road that it needs. Not yet, anyway. Panzer Grenadier, and a right Jaeger with a leader in the back. No anti-tank here, but playing against Rapana, do you need it? Okay, and there we go. We see here now this this objective here is lost, you know, for free. Just one infantry unit, or even just an MG42 in the trees here would probably be enough to just hold the line, or one infantry unit placed here could then move up into the town and hold it. So we spot the pack in the trees and the infantry. Another pack in the trees there. Infantry, infantry. I think this MG is also a little bit too conservative. With the 1250 range, that's only going out to here, which is not where the units are going to be. It advances here. We see here now, like, this is a big balloon. Might even lose this objective as well. It's a bit too close. There's another MG42 brought out on the left into this building here. Okay, I think that's nice range. Just gets the sight on the edge of the tree line there. So right Jaeger, right Jaeger, right Jaeger, all going onto this right side now. I would ask, is this a... These are all MP44s. The MP44s, they specialize at a certain kind of range. So if we put them into the forest here, okay, they could get that kind of range, the 300 meters on these buildings here. But if we're looking to contest this flag here, and we're sending in infantry, that's all going to be pretty much 100-meter range, at least up to the road here. And in these buildings, they just about have that extra range to put their MP44s to use. These buildings, this one is okay, but overall I'd say these buildings don't lend themselves very well to the MP44 use. Like this one here, the edge of the tree line here is good. This edge of the tree line I think works well. Anything tries to come across here, or even here, like would be melted by the MP44s. You never really appreciate your recon? You should. They did a fantastic job the whole game. Like, especially I think this one moves up here, I think, later in the game, maybe. Not sure. There was some Kosakan, at least two of them I noticed that were spotting a lot of things that I didn't realize while I was playing. Got the T-34 in the back here. I'm not sure the purpose of the T-34 here. Like most of the time, we want to use these according to their range, right? 1500 meters. Like this open area here is huge. This is like a 2000-meter wide arena, right? And so if you want to use 1500 meters, like we have to look at the terrain and we think, where are my opponents going to put their units? And if we're playing against an infantry division, it's not going to be, you know, out in the open. It's going to be in the forests. So how far away are these forests? And like we look here. So from here we get a tank here could work, but probably there's going to be anti-tank guns in these forests to prevent tanks going down these roads, right? So you could use them in the forests here for extra support, as long as you're screening with infantry. But if we buy a T-34 and we put it at the back here, I mean it's 60 points, right? And if we have a 500-point tactical start, 60 points is more than 10% of your total points, right? And so this is, I think this is a principle talked about by von Clausewitz in his On War. It's called economy of force. If you have a unit, or if you have some things, they should be doing something. And if they're not, it's essentially I mean, especially in this situation where both sides have even amounts of points and units, then if you are not using a unit and your opponent is, then you are at a disadvantage because of that. So every unit kind of has to be placed to have a purpose. And so at this positioning here, like this T-34 isn't going to apply any pressure here or here, and it's just sat at the back. Whereas, if you'd bought 3 more squads of infantry here, and you'd been using them to push into the town here, that probably would have produced much different results than, one tank sitting in the back. So VK9 as well coming out to the right side. I think this is a solid choice. Nice infantry support with that autocannon. And it's recon as well, so it can spot all the infantry that might be hiding in the forests, in the buildings, and so on. So another VK coming out to the left side here. Yeah, I can agree with that, although I think it's a little bit wide. If we look at the range for the HE shells, 750 meters. This is 1,000. So maybe even just bringing it up this way. As long as you have the infantry screening and supporting, you're probably going to get some use out of it in this area here. This Kosakin is nice. Great vision on the forests and the reinforcing road. Another Ford gets in there. Don't see what it is. Now this is something I'm not sure about. The 4 right Jaeger buy. These are, how much do they cost right Jaeger? Do we have any others to click on around here? Any over here? Right Jaeger MP44. Okay, let's just guess that these are 20 points, right? So this is 80 points. And it's already 75 points of units. So we're getting into 150 points of infantry here. And if you take this one objective with these infantry units, what are they going to do after that? Can you use these units to do something outside of this area? Or are you going to use 150 points to just defend one objective? And is that worth it? Could you take this objective with less points? Is the question I would guess here. Because I would say yes. I would say, judging by the influence line already, from what we can see here. Now there's a little trick. If you don't know what the little trick is with the influence line is, if we go to any unit here, and we press C on them, and it has to be a unit that affects the influence line. We press C on the unit, and we measure to the influence line. So this is, let's say, 1,000 meters. Now from this, most units affect the influence line in the same way, in the same strength. So if we look at the distance, 1,000 meters to here, then we can judge that probably, well, not probably, but most certainly, your opponent has units also 1,000 meters back from this line. So let's measure that. From here, 1,000 meters means in the forest right here. They're not going to be stood out in the open, right? Let's look. 1,000 meters up to here. 1,000 meters could be anywhere around here. Probably not in the open, but there is a forest there, right at the 1,000-meter range, right? And so we test this hypothesis to say that I'm not talking shit. We change to neutral, and there we go. 1,000 meters from the line is an enemy unit. Exactly as I said. I mean, there is a recon squad there. Recon squads don't affect the influence line. But this is how we can judge. This is how we can get some idea of, whether our opponent has units somewhere or not. And if not, in this case, for this objective, it's a not, then you probably don't need many units to contest this objective. Probably just the VK and the 2 right Jaeger MP44s would be enough to hold this. And then, if you do want to try and go over here, there are 3 objectives here. how easy would that be for the division you're playing against the division you're playing against? So in this case, you would have the advantage in the open area, but there are forests here, and there are buildings here, and this one is a little bit far back, also with more forests able to support it here. So this is a tough cookie to crack, I would say, this area here. So in this case, then, we would look at just taking this objective and defending it and keeping it. Maybe some support equipment into the forest here, maybe some infantry on the defense here, maybe even more support equipment if we feel like it, if it's suitable in here too. But this is not an area that we are really going to want to launch attacks from because we're not sure how successful, it could really be. So then do we need to spend so many points here? And if we didn't spend these points here, and we instead spend them in the town, or we instead spend them on the left side here with more infantry, with another VK to support and push here, what would be the different results that we might achieve? Are any units disproportionate in the amount that they displace the influence line? Not, as far as I'm aware, not in terms of like strength that they push it, but strength that it can't be pushed back. I would say I think is stronger for both leader units and maybe raider units. For leader units, I am absolutely 100% sure that they have a stronger defense against having their influence line collapsed in on them at least. So within a close radius to them, it is stronger. Raider units, I'm not sure. Could be not. I know at least that if raider units get enveloped or get encircled and lose their influence line, and then enemy units move away from them, they will actually create a whole new bubble by themselves. That's a special mechanic they have. But as to whether they have a stronger influence bubble, I think I'm leaning towards for raider units no, and for leader units yes. Von Clausewitz. Von Clausewitz. Von Clausewitz is spelled like this. Von Clausewitz. And the name of his book is On War. There is even a flag steal spot when you need leader. What do you mean, Fantex? I'm not sure I really understand what you mean. So they def have more influence. Yeah, I'm about 80% sure that leaders have stronger influence. I know raiders have a special influence mechanic. I don't think it's actually stronger though. And then for everything else, it's pretty much the same. But the nice little tip that I recommend everybody using, if you don't know it already, is using the C key and measuring to it, and then measuring back from it, and you'll know. This is like, it's pretty much like a wall hack. You can know where enemy units are. I mean, as long as they're not anti-tank infantry or recon units, you can know where enemy units are just by this measuring trick. And by being able to measure then and understand where enemy units are, you can apply a proportionate force. Like, if this town was infested with 6 infantry units, this would be appropriate. But it's not. And we can guess by the influence line that it's not. And so here we get a disproportionate buy, which then allows me to buy more things in the other areas where we fight, which would be this town here and this side here. And so in that way then, I have the points advantage. So the two T-34s here advance. They find the pack 50, pack 38, sorry. Down goes one T-34. Gets the gun jam, which is unfortunate. So he's pretty toast now, I would say. But in this situation, if you're looking at this situation and you want to advance here, would you just advance with tanks? Knowing that probably in forests, if your opponent is competent, then they will use forests and they will use anti-tank guns in the forests to defend the ways that you can come and you can attack with. Now, personally, I don't think 2 tanks by themselves is enough to attack with. If I did want to do this, I would probably do it with a heavy bomber or at least a light bomber. That way you advance with the tanks. The anti-tank gun reveals itself, in comes the bomber, the threat is taken out, the tanks can advance, the tanks can stay there, the tanks can support, and especially the tanks staying here would be able to support these infantry advancing through the town here. But because they advance alone and they meet the anti-tank gun, and there's no tool available to take out this anti-tank gun. In fact, no, I say that, I take it back. This Stu-42 brought here would have been a fantastic tool to take out this anti-tank gun, because these HE shells, 105mm HE shells, are fantastic soft target deleters. So with a range of 2000, oh my goodness, look at this. So you could have kept this Stu actually right here in the back, even on the hill here, right here at its 2000 meter range. And these Pack 50s, they only have 1500 meters. So the Stu-42 can sit here and completely outside of any anti-tank gun range, provide fire support and delete these anti-tank guns if they try to kill these T-34s. And this is combined arms. We'll never win in Steel Division 2 by just using one unit type by itself, at least not against a competent player. If we want to win, we basically have to imagine this like this mind game. I knew that you knew that I knew that you knew that I would do that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, so they def have more influence, yeah, but line of sight is quite tricky because it shows weird things time. Yeah, Fantex, I agree. The line of sight is so janky sometimes. So janky. Like, it's quite frustrating. In this case here, we will see some of my Jakari fighting against the Panzer Grenadiers here, and even though I give them the fallback order, they literally just sit still, and I think they can't even see the Panzer Grenadiers, and they just sit there, falling back while not moving, while not seeing anything, and also while dying, which is a little bit kind of thing, you know? But it happens. It doesn't happen so much that it's like the game is broken. So if we had taken the Stu-42 with 0 vet, what we could have done is we could have even taken one, let's say, here. Okay, now look at this. This part of the road here, this intersection, okay? We press the C key. This would give the Stu-42 range both on this forest, this forest, this forest, and this forest. All within its 2000 meter range, which it cannot be shot at, because the only anti-tank guns that Rapana gets do not have anything beyond 1500 meters range. So if you, like, this is one of the, I would say, let's say it's an intermediate level tactic, but it is so effective when used correctly, and I've had it used correctly against me. Is absolutely the freaking worst. Absolutely the freaking worst. When you have tanks that are so good at deleting your units, and they're just totally out of range of your units, and there's nothing you can do about that. That's frustration. That's pure frustration distilled into an essence. So in this case here, you know, if we want to advance with the T-34 and provide support with it, okay, good. It does that well with infantry, but have something here that will take out any anti-tank guns that try to say nope to the T-34. And that way you're predicting. You're thinking, okay, I bring the tank. If my opponent thinks I'm going to bring a tank, what will they have? They will have anti-tank guns. So if they have anti-tank guns, I will have an anti-tank gun unit. But if I have an anti-tank gun unit and they know I'm going to bring that, what will they bring? Well, then they might bring bombers or anti-tank rocket planes. And so if they bring anti-tank rocket planes, I'm going to have fighters or anti-air supporting my units. But if they know, you know, like this is how you play Steel Division 2 at a higher level. I mean, it requires some some understanding of your opponent's divisions and the units they can bring. So this is bye-bye to the T-34. It does get quite a few bounces, I think. Out comes the recon plane. I think this is when the artillery is going to get hit with all that CAS. There it is, spotted. Learning a lot. Good. I'm glad. I hope this is helpful in looking at the decisions that were made, and then whether they apply well or not, or if we want to do the same thing, how could we do it more effectively? I think there's going to be an engagement in the town here soon. Oh, thank you SD League for the follow. Okay, so here the Panzer T-34 advances, right? When is it going to get shot, do you think? It's already now in the 1500-meter range of this forest and this forest. How long until this tank gets shot, do you think? Right now. Just saw it. There's a second shot. And even with the recon here, is not revealing the anti-tank gun. That's 3 shots, that's 4 shots. There's a penetration. There's 5 shots. Oh my goodness, 5 shots without being revealed. That's disgusting. Here go the BF-109s for the strafing run. Now here's the thing. I saw the recon plane, and I thought to myself, okay, if a recon plane can spot my units here, and especially can spot my artillery, which is I'm trying to make into a nuisance, what would be a good way to kill my artillery? And I thought some air units would be a good way to do that, and so I brought anti-air out to take care of that, or to at least discourage them from hanging around at least, and make the recon plane go away. And this is again applying to the idea of you bounce back and forwards. If I bring this, what will my opponent bring? If my opponent brings that, then what will I bring? Then what will they bring? Like this. And how many steps ahead we can think then gives us this advantage and allows us to counter our opponent before they bring the things out. Does get the pin down, does deal 3 damage, but then retreats them. I think in this case, just against this one light anti-air, they probably could have stayed and gone for another run, maybe. Because this is just one light anti-air unit. Doesn't do that much damage. Probably if you had gone for another CAS run, you would have gotten away with it, and even damaged would have still got the planes home and done more damage to the artillery, although probably not killed it. And now look, this is I think proving my point. You took the objective here with actually no contest, but you spent a lot of points to do it. A lot of points here. And these points are pretty much now not being used. This is not economy of force. Okay, moving these two forwards is the right choice, I would say. That recon unit going into the spot there, actually, I did remember correctly. Okay, here comes the Jakari assault, where they get gunned down by one Panzer Grenadier squad. Still not sure how this happened. Like, this Panzer Grenadier squad just wrecked 2 squads in what, 5 seconds by itself. Killed it, killed one of them, half killed the other one, suppressed both of them, and lost 2 guys. I don't know what that was. So two mortars here now, 2 81mm mortars. In comes a plane, there's the Blenheim. I didn't bring it out till B phase, but they were available in A phase. Dropped the bombs, I think, on this Panzergren, because it was so damn lethal. Bye-bye, Panzer Grenadier. BF-109's chase. I think at this range it will probably get away. Sniper here catching out some infantry transports. And the Panzer Grenadier here. Blenheim gets away. Now, one thing I wanted to say about the Chikari has no MG, if I remember correctly, while 2 MG42 on 2 vet is nuts. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking, Fantix, exactly, but I was surprised that it was so effective and so strong so quickly, like 5 seconds for 2 squads. But okay, fine, that's the way it is. You're about 2, 3 steps ahead of me this game. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like we try to think 2, 3 steps ahead, so we have counters ready for when we do something. If we push somewhere and our opponent is going to have something, we have something ready to counter that, and even we have something ready to counter the second thing they will try to do, and that way, that's how we win the engagements. Those hussars have 3 MGs apiece. Yeah, yeah. The golly, those units are really nice. Bit of an infantry engagement going on here. The VK comes down. I think this VK probably could have been used in this forest here. As long as you send an infantry squad across here first to screen, that would have been a nice counter to these infantry. And the Tiger here... I'm of half a mind about this Tiger here, like... This is quite close quarters combat. And Tigers, they do really well at 2k. But if you want to utilize this here against these units, you're going to have to bring it like... This unit retreats in a bit, it's going to have to come down to this road to really do something, right? I'm not sure it can be at its most effective there. One of the... I think the VK was lost there to the 75 mil. Let me just click off here. I resent sending armor in light forest. Then don't look at Fallschirmjäger on 2 vet because it kills units while moving 2 secs probably. Yeah, but we all know what Fallschirmjäger is like. We kind of expect it, right? I wasn't expecting just a standard Panzer Grenadier squad to just delete 2 infantry squads in 5 seconds. But hey, I mean that's props to Evan, right? For the leader and the 2 vet going on here. It worked out really well. Totally deleted those units. Now there was something I wanted to say here about the mortars. And so when we think about mortars and what they can do, like these two are going to target these forests here. For what purpose? Because most of the time, these low caliber mortars won't kill things. They will damage and they will suppress. Unless you can land, let's say, 3 salvos, one after the other, on top of a unit, then that thing will die. But if you don't do the queuing orders, so in this case, this I think is just one salvo, then it's just going to damage, it's just going to pin down, but then the ammunition is going to be gone as well. And so, you know, most of the time I think we want to use mortars for a kind of tactical purpose rather than just a click here and kill a thing, because it's not going to kill the thing. It's just going to damage it and maybe pin it down. And if there's nothing following up from that, then it's pretty much just going to be a waste of ammunition. And we don't even... I'm not sure there's enough recon about this area here to know if there's something worth really spamming rounds into it for. I mean, we know there's an anti-tank gun there, right? So let's check. So we have Panzer Shrek and an infantry squad and a anti-tank gun, which has already been damaged here. Now, do you think these 2 mortars will kill any of those units in that one salvo? What do you think? Oh dear, don't use those 75mm AT guns. I mean, I don't use them as AT guns. I use them mostly as a light tank, half track, and omni-roll infantry support guns, just because in Rapana you've got so many points to spend on so many things. I find that I can actually sometimes get some use out of these guns because I don't want to waste my pack 50s just for half-track duty. And sometimes the half-tracks are going to be outside that 500-meter anti-tank rifle range. So these cheap omni-roll 75 mm anti-tank guns actually can be used in some cases. I wasn't sure if Evan was going to use half tracks much this game, so I kept them in the division anyway. Sometimes I get good use out of them, sometimes not. I killed a VK9 here with one of them at least. Got some use out of it. I think maybe it tries to kill another tank later and just gets bounced all the time. Can you queue salvos? Yeah, if you press T and then you hold shift, every time you click, it will queue that order. So for these, you could, if you really wanted to take out units here, you should queue at least 2 or 3 salvos. Yeah, shift and T. But most of the time, if you are going to then queue salvos for these 80 mm mortars, you're also going to need a supply truck because they're going to run out of ammunition in about 1 minute doing that. So if you don't have the supply truck, then I would say these mortars are either relegated to one of two roles, one of which would be you can kill 1 or 2 units and then they're done, or you can use them as a, let's say, suppression tool. So if we took both of these and we applied a kind of rolling salvo, so we did a, judging with the influence line trick here, so 120. So there's going to be infantry units either in this building or this building here, these two buildings. So we put one salvo here, one, then queue the order to one here, and then queue here and here. Once the first salvo lands, you're moving up the infantry, and they're going to be hitting already suppressed or mostly suppressed infantry units, either kill them or surrender them, and as they advance, the second salvo is landing on any reserve units, and we advance again, and then again the same thing here, you advance again, and you've taken this objective and you've taken the town. In this case here, just the one salvo by itself, we'll see. I don't think it actually kills anything. There we go, all done. Not even any damage on the pack 50. Yeah, smoke is good too. I mean, we can use smoke as well. But I mean, most of the time we're using smoke to prevent longer range units from doing something. So in this case here, there isn't really... I mean, you could use the smoke against the AT gun there to move your tanks up. That could work. But for the infantry push here, I'm not sure the smoke would do so much. Welcome to mortars. That's why you use radio mortars, because they are far more deadly. Yeah, I mean, as long as you have the radio unit there to provide the radio radius. And he does. He has the right of Führer there. I mean, I think Group Hardneck does get those mortar half tracks, and they also have a radio, right? Am I remembering that correctly? I remember seeing the mortar half tracks and complaining that they were 100 points, but I can't remember if they have a radio or not. This is MG42 on the side here. This is a nice support position against these units here, but this off map coming down now is just in time, really. I think down goes the leader. This MP44 squad is dead, and there's no way to advance across this crossroads while the off map is going down. So this recon unit is spotted here, coming down, okay? And this is actually what I talked about when we were looking at the deck, is that these have 3 rifles. And so they will fight at 500 meters with these 3 rifles if you let them. And how do you think 3 rifles are going to do against 6 rifles and an LMG? Probably not very well. So if you let them sit here at this range, they're just gonna lose. You're just gonna lose units in a very inefficient way. So to prevent this kind of engagement here, we can just use the line of sight on the buildings to let them come in close and then engage in the preferred 100-meter range with these 9 MP40s. So if we look at the buildings, like for example this one, wait here or even wait here, the Rajakari can't see into that one. Not going to use the one at the end. So this one here can work. This one obviously isn't working. This one would work. So we just move them back a little bit, let them come in, and then we kind of countercharge, take them out in the 100-meter range, and that's efficient. That works well. So another VK going down the road here, but this, I think this was a little bit of a macro mistake. Oh, you just thought, okay, I want a VK and I want it kind of over here, thinking that the tank would be smart and take the safe route. But here it is running down the road. Oops. And probably is going to get pew-pewed somewhere along the line. There's the anti-tank gun. Gets the hit. And bye-bye VK 109. Blenheim coming in, I think, on the MG42. So this is what I was meaning when I said, like, we have the bombers available for those situations where you want to take out something that is causing an issue. Because sometimes we don't have the range, we don't have the units in place, and so planes provide this really nice role of quick response, take out a unit that's bothering you, and allow you to advance. Maybe you didn't know the unit was there, maybe it's just popped out of somewhere, and it's causing you issues. And this MG42 was causing me issues for my infantry advancing through the town, so I went to get rid of it. So in comes the Blenheim. Does get shot by the AA, but it's too late. Bye-bye MG42. No more support stopping these infantry from advancing. How to play SD2, press C. I lost the game 10 minutes ago, do you agree? Let's have a look. Let's go to neutral. Yes, probably by this point the points difference is significant, maybe. If you include the planes and the off map and stuff. I like to play a deep defense game, so we see here the town is filled with infantry all the way back, supporting equipment in the back as well. Same over here. These are probably going to get shot, actually. This was a bit of a mistake. And again, the same here. Infantry all the way back. And that way, we move forwards, we attack. If something happens, we have some different units to deal with it and try again. And there's never just going to be a collapse, right? So maybe, but at the same time, you know, we can say it's not over till the fat lady sings. And especially on this map is really, really bad for infantry divisions. Really, really bad. So if you have tanks available to you on this map, and you make good use of them, you could probably still claw back a win from this. I mean, it's only 13-11. You know, in some cases, like I said before, with the Stu-42, for example, and that 2-kilometer range that you can't counter very well, except with air units. If you do that well, you can still push. You can still really make a mess of your opponent. That's a little bit too close. So like this Stu-42 now has been sat here, I would say pretty much, what's this, 17 minutes now, and hasn't really been put to any good use. Like, you could put it shooting down the road, but unless the infantry go out into the road and not through the buildings here, it's not going to get a shot. So we have to, when we bring this unit out, we have to have a purpose for it. And that purpose, I would say, would be countering support units in here. Well, even if we had it if we had it on the hill here, for example, it could still get some nice lines of sight into the town here if we look at that. See, there are some gaps, right? So on here, it would be able to shoot into the trees and do that nice support role, but it would also be able to prevent infantry from advancing too far. It'd be really hard to deal with, if there was some anti-air here. Like if there was a, what's it called, the flak veering. If there was a flak veering on here with the Stu-42, that would have been a real issue. So it's not that the game is over, it's just that units have to be used appropriately. And if units are not used appropriately and they don't take the advantages that they have, that's when you lose the game. Every division kind of has, some advantages over whatever it plays against, and that's the asymmetric quality of Steel Division 2. So Tiger here, for example. My 100mm penetration anti-tank guns cannot take out this Tiger. No way. I mean, we know there's one in there, but there's no way they're going to take out the Tiger, and they're not even in range to take out the Tiger. This is a nice place to keep the Tiger, just for support here, and it prevents any units coming down the road, which means if you have line of sight to at least here, I have to bring them in from the back and through the forest here, which is much slower. What that means then on a bigger scale is, if you go for a big push here, I cannot reinforce quickly. I have to reinforce into the forest here, and I have to walk the infantry units down. If you're supporting here, and you put more infantry here with the VK-109s, and you push through here, this is an easy take. Alternatively, the off-map into this position here, or just a heavy bomber. Now this is definitely still takeable. Even at this stage of the game, like you said that you think the game was over 10 minutes ago, but in many ways it's not. It's just whether you can apply the strengths of the division well according to the map. I mean, there goes a Blenheim, that's a nice kill. If you got this one as well, that would be a nice kill. I just lost like 190 points of units for nothing, right? That's a claw back in 10 seconds of 200 points. So it's not like the game is instantly over. It's just, I think, in some ways, once you get more experience at the game, you understand how to counter losing or being pushed back. So like in this case here, an off map here would have been a good way to then just push back and take this objective. Having some units here or in these buildings from the start would have also kept this objective for you, in which case, if you had both these objectives, I would be losing. It would be 13-11 in Evan's favor rather than in my favor, just with two objectives here. But the key there is then understanding how to do that. And that you can do that. And there's another Panzer III, two Panzer III's here. I guess they're going to be moved to support this. But if we'd put them here, for example, instead, they would have been able to support both sides of the town, where infantry could advance and be supported with armor, and potentially take these two objectives. Not that it's going to be easy or that it's going to be a walk in the park, but I think it's definitely still doable. I don't think so. Like these two okay, let's just call them gollies. These two are perfectly placed to defend this area here with their with their 3 MGs each, right? And we see they're actually winning this fight, but the mistake here is both of these squads are fighting one of your squads here, and you have the other squad here, and if you just move it forward a little bit, it would be able to then also engage and win this fight very quickly. But as it is now, they pin down this one, The artillery landed and half pinned down this one. So this is a fight that could have been won, but because the micro just wasn't there, then instead it goes the other way. And again, having this mortar here, it's out of shells, so having the supply trucks available, this can respond very, very quickly at close ranges. When you see something like this happens, you can click on your mortar, you can tell it to fire in the middle of these guys, and both these squads will be pinned down in around 10 seconds. And that's going to be before this engagement ends, and that's going to make you win that engagement. But because there were no supply trucks available, or they were attached to other units, which makes them more expensive, it goes the other way. The two biplanes here coming in for the Tiger. I think I even bring another one on the Tiger, and the Tiger survives again. So this Tiger took 3 salvos of anti-tank rockets to the face and didn't die. Felt a little bit unfair, but super Tiger. And this placement here, like for pushing this objective, is good. Maybe pushing it a little bit more in the center here. You could have gotten more out of it because, again, using the C key, there's nothing that's going to be able to take a flanking shot. I don't have any units that have that range. So putting it in the center here still allows it to support with its HE shells all of this area here, but also gives it a nice push here. But what you really needed right behind it, I think, was a flak veering. There's the third salvo, and the Tiger still survives. I was very sad about this. That's 210 points of anti-tank rockets not killing the 120-point Tiger. So here's the crappy 75 mil fighting the Panzer III and losing because the Panzer III has 70 armor, which is just so much. And here's the final rocket plane, because I got so sick of this Tiger. That one actually worked. And it's 140 points, so that's now 350 points of rocket planes to take out one Tiger. Not the best use of points, but it is what it is. Okay, so in this case here, we see the Ratsu Pioneer coming down into here, right? Now, most of the time, if you see a unit that says Pioneer, it's going to have either a grenade or a flamethrower. That means you need CQC units as well with something similar to kind of counter that. These guys are not going to do that job. These are line infantry. They work well at the edge here, where they can shoot across the light forest, but trying to contest this, and again, using the C key, this is freaking 2 meters away, so there are infantry units already in the forest here. So you're going to be fighting at 100 meters. And while the right Jaegers are perfectly suited to that, this is a less than half strength squad, only 5 guys left out of 12. And so we do get the infantry reinforcements, but this is not the infantry reinforcements we need at this stage for this situation. I would maybe bring one of these and then 2 CQC infantry squads, send them together, send the 2 CQC squads up first, let them do that CQC fighting, bring the Golly in behind them for that support so they don't take a grenade to the face, and you've got some chance of winning the engagement here. But I think the way it goes here is probably because I have the grenade infantry and Evan doesn't. That's an infantry engagement that I conclusively win. So now here there is another comment I can make, which is that this Cossackon can actually see this anti-air unit here. And once you've seen that one, and I think there is another one on the hill here as well, At this stage then, two of these 40mm AA, it's not a great choice to bring any planes over this way. But it doesn't mean we don't have to do anything. You know, we can use a mortar to suppress it, or you can save up and buy the really big 210 artillery, and with a radio unit here, you would be able to take that out pretty nicely. And the other issue here is we don't group infantry up. We don't want to cluster them up like this. Anytime I see this, all I think is bomber. Because one accurate landing of bombs here is going to take out every single one of these squads. Even landing at the side is probably going to take out at least one of them and suppress the rest. So like if we want to do this, that's fine, but we want a micro. Now we want to send one up the side here, one up the middle, one round the other side here, and keep one in the back as a kind of reserve and send them up that way. That way, if they get engaged by something on the side, that's only one squad. If a bomber comes, you can still move at least two of them out the way. You only lose one squad. Everything, can still continue and advance. So I think what happens is they advance, and I see this clump of units, and I think, okay, it's time for a bomber then. So good, they advance, they take care of the infantry in here. So we win this engagement. There's the bomber. And I think he sees the bomber, and he moves them all back the same way. Like, move one that way, one up, one down, one to the right, split them up. Takes out one, damages one, pins down all of them. And that's an effective counter. And again, here now, like we know there's 40 mil here. And so chasing this bomber over this airspace is a bad decision. Probably going to lose at least one of these fighters. And I think we can even see the... Yeah. It's not the easiest to see on this terrain because it's white terrain. Oh, there. So 2 fighters lost there. Not a good trade. But in this case, you didn't need to bring 2 fighters for this situation. The bomber could have come and dropped its bombs, and having the infantry just situated correctly, not all clumped together, would have lost you 1 infantry unit. And, if I spend, let's see, this Jaeger Pioneer is 30 points. If I spend 120 points on a heavy bomber, and I only kill a 30-point infantry squad, that was not a good trade on my part. And so you could have effectively have cost me 90 points, for now, just by moving the infantry not together, by separating them into different directions rather than all together. And that way then this assault could have continued up into here, in which case you would have contested or gained this objective as well. So the game wasn't over really, it's just that the attacks were not effective. And so we'll see that again here. I think this will show the CQC infantry. So if we're contesting heavy forest, there's the grenades, there's the other grenades. 1, 2, boom, boom. Artillery, pinned down, surrendered. Now if you had brought also grenade infantry there, that would have gone probably more like an even fight. Both sides damaged or having to fall back, or much more evenly at least than the conclusive engagement victory there. So I think this is more rocket planes now for the Stu, which has its side armor turned. Probably going to be effective, this one. Yep, okay, got the kill on that. The flak veerling might still shoot one of them down. It is quite close. not quite. Having a leader here, or the commander unit with this, could have improved its efficacy. Now, this tiger, like, having tanks here is really effective, especially in this center zone here. And the reason they're so effective here is there's no line of sight to the forests. The only anti-tank I'm going to bring at this point is either going to be from the air or from the forest with the anti-tank guns. Right here, even if I had them in the forest here, I can't get the line of sight. We know that there's some in the forest there, but there's no line of sight. So we can use this area here. Look at this. We can move all the way to here, even, right up to here, which can provide fire support on all of these buildings, and definitely support this one, while still being pretty much safe. I mean, look, it's even here, it's just outside of the 1500-meter range for this forest here as well. I mean, it's a little bit like the cutting edge of range and things like that. But if you want to be like the most effective in terms of defeating your opponent, then actually range a lot of the time is the deciding factor. Like these Panzer IIIs, I think, in here and on this left side with the stew on top of here for taking out the anti-tank guns, or even just the mortars bombarding this area and then having the tanks here and here, would have been very easy, I think, to contest this town. Jaeger Pioneers here, okay, but at this stage now, this forest has pretty much been lost. I mean, I'm even moving units out into the town here. And so at this stage now, we need to do something about this forest. Maybe we can reach the forest, maybe not. And in comes the artillery as well. Some reinforcements coming up the road here. They do get into this one. Tiger doesn't shoot them. And another engagement here. Infantry moving into the town. Here's the problem with the Panzer III here. It does prevent units from coming down this way, but tanks are blind. So if you had had the Panzer III with a VK here as well, no infantry could have moved down this way. But instead, because the Panzer III was here with no recon, nothing to give it vision, I mean, even another infantry squad just sat here would have been enough. Because it had no vision, I could literally walk infantry up this whole way, in sight of the tank, and the tank not see them. And we see now that I've walked both these infantry squads all the way up here. And this one too, and this one too, without this Panzer III being able to do its job because of vision. So now this is a bad situation. These units are probably not enough, even with the Panzer III, to prevent this being lost. Okay, and there's line infantry at the edge of the forest here, but they can't see the MP44s. Okay, this is a nice approach here. And I think over here we're going to see this Tiger lost to one of those 122mm artillery guns with the heat shells. A couple of rocket planes coming in here. Okay, the flak veering is there. Should have been right behind the Tiger. Right behind. Like, it's doing a great job. Even over here, it's, you know, suppressing both of them, damaging them. Here's the 122mm. I think this was a pretty close engagement, actually. It missed its first shell. Hits with the second one. Bye-bye, Tiger. Those heat shells on the 122mm do 12 damage, which is enough to kill a Tiger in one hit. Now, I'm not sure if if this was noticed or not. But every time like we use a big unit, at least we see it here, and we can press spacebar to jump over to it. Rocket plane on the Panzer III. If you had counter battery. Yeah. I mean, counter battery is one way, but even if you'd had a rocket plane, for example, not a rocket plane, a heavy bomber could have done the same thing, or at least could have done the same thing at the start of the game when there wasn't enough anti-air to prevent the heavy bombers from doing that. So we can, if we see there's artillery being used, we can even use the, in the bottom right of the game here, when we're actually playing, not in the replay, we've got those we call them the flares that we can put down both for offense and defense. But you can also use them to mark enemy units. Like if you see the the muzzle blast, right? Like over here, when we saw the 40mm flak, if I was on the Grubhartneck side, then I would have taken a flare and I would have just put it there wherever I could see the muzzle blast. And then I said, okay, there's something to shoot with artillery. Or at the start of the game when we saw the artillery shooting from here, even without direct vision, we still see the muzzle blast. So we just drop a flare on it and we say, okay, it's right about there. That's where the muzzle blast came from. And we just send a heavy bomber. Heavy bomber, and we press T, and we say, drop some bombs right there. Bye-bye artillery. But part of that then is the deck building again. You have to have these things available in A phase, in B phase, to be able to use them. And if we don't, then that is one less, like, I call it having tools in the toolbox. Like all of the things that I put into my division builds aren't things that I will necessarily absolutely use. It's just that for this situation, this is the tool I will use for it. I mean, you think about like a mechanic's toolbox, right? Mechanic's toolbox has like 50 tools in it for all the freaking different things that you have in a car. But he's not going to use all of them to fix one car or fix one problem in a car, but he encounters a certain problem. He says, okay, I need this tool for it. And here we go, we got the tool. And if he doesn't have that tool, he can't fix that problem. We can apply the same kind of analogy to Steel Division 2. If you don't have those tools, you can't fix those problems, and those problems might be what make you lose the game, or might be just like at least what contributes to you losing the game. Okay, so here, we saw it right here, drop a flare there. Bring in the artillery, bring in a mortar, and just bombard that area there. This one is still spotted. Don't even need to flare, you could have been using a mortar on this one. So this artillery is firing again now, I think. Somewhere, there it is, right there. Muzzle flash, drop the flare. This is too far back. But might get the kill with the fighter. Oof. Now the other thing is that I can also see the muzzle flashes of my opponent's anti-air units, and I use my artillery to shoot them. And so I think that's how I took out a flak Vierling that was over here. I don't see it around here anymore, so I'm guessing that's what killed it. And the same thing over here, both this flak Vierling and this flak half-track, I take out with artillery. Because I spot it's there, and I put flares down, and then I send out the artillery. I think actually I'll be able to show you that once we advance the game a little bit more, not quite yet. So these low caliber anti-air units, we have to bring closer. At this range, they are safer, but I don't think there's actually anything here that could really decisively cause issues to these units other than the artillery itself. And so for that thing, the advantage we have against artillery, especially the heavy caliber artillery that is far away, the advantage we have with our anti-air units is we can move them faster than artillery can aim and fire and land their shots. So if we want to have artillery here in kind of a, not artillery, anti-air here in this area, in close support, when I am trying to bombard it with artillery, we bring it here, and then we just Q move it over to here, and Q move it over to here, and Q move, Q move. I mean, you could even shift, you could queue the Q moves between these zones back and forth, and they would just constantly be moving until some air comes. They would stop, they would shoot. If there's nothing to shoot, they go back to moving. And in that way, it's very, very difficult to hit those targets with artillery. Okay, so over here now, I try to advance with my infantry, and they get pew-pewed by the anti-air here. There's the flak-veering. Pew, 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 pew. Bye-bye, infantry units. These flak units are very, very effective at anti-infantry. So I have my artillery. Where is it? Somewhere over here. Was it this one? I think I bring another artillery up here actually to deal with this. So not quite yet. I give up about 75% way through hard fight. There's just way too much micro to do. I think you did well. Yeah, thank you. I mean, you shouldn't take this in a hard way, my Steam count for the game is something like 1,300 hours. So I've spent a lot of time playing and learning and trying to understand the game, watching a lot of replays of how other people play, and also even just things like map knowledge is so important, and knowing like, okay, in on this map with this kind of division, probably we need to focus on this area and not this other area here. So that's why most of my work was in this area here, occasionally here, and occasionally here, and that was it. But also I'm very experienced with this division I play. I play it a lot, so I can utilize the tools it has very well as well. And it has a very high skill ceiling. Okay, I think the artillery is coming down here now. There's the artillery coming in. This... yeah. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed losing this tiger here to the anti-tank gun here. If you did, bringing another tiger here was obviously a mistake. If you didn't notice it, not much we can do about that. Here I used the artillery to suppress these infantry units before advancing my own infantry. So while these MP44s are really, really good, when they're already worn down a bit, they're not so great. Okay, they killed the Ratsuvaki. And this is actually pushed back. Do I just have... oh no, these two units are coming up a bit late. Heavy bomber. I think this is the first heavy bomber that you bought this game at minute 35. And like these could have been used in many places for great effect. I mean, especially this town here, which is literally just one road and buildings either side. If you want to advance with infantry here, they are going to be in the buildings. And even if you just drop bombs onto the road, it's going to at least suppress the infantry that are in the buildings either side. So if you know there are infantry here or here, you can drop the bombs in the middle, advance with your own infantry, and then you will win that engagement. Hi Fantix. Hi Baba Ryan, nice to see you here. Oh, Baba Ryan, or was it Barbarian? Let's see, is this artillery up and running? Not yet. Almost. There we go. I targeted here because I wasn't sure where it was. Okay. But then I thought, what's the point of firing my artillery blind if I can just sacrifice a few men to see exactly where it is? So I send these Rasovaki out here, simply for the purpose of saying, where the hell is this damn... There it is. Okay, I see where it is. I put the defense beacon down on it. Now I know exactly where to target my artillery, and then this is going to be the end of this flak veering. Tiger should hold the main street. Yeah, Tiger here would work really well as well. I mean, most of the time I didn't have units actually going down the street, so I'm not sure how effective it would have been. Another bombardment here with the artillery, softening up these MP-44s, and I think my infantry is just arriving here as well. There goes the flak veering to the artillery. I think I then advance with infantry here, spot the other flak here, and do the same thing and take it out with artillery. This is a good way to lose a Tiger. Just advancing by itself. Here come the two infantry squads. So like here, this spotting of infantry squads here, when they're out in the open, when they're clumped together, if you have a bomber, really easy way to get a few dead infantry squads and a few more points on your side. Well, even if you had just an MG in here, MG42 would have prevented any infantry from moving up here. Steiner's counterattack will fix it all? Steiner's counterattack? What's that? So we see here the mortar, very low ammo. Two heavy bombers coming in. I thought there would be more units in here. Go for the carpet bombing. But actually there's just one infantry squad, so it doesn't really matter. Oof, bye-bye MG42. And we're down to 2 minutes left now, right at the end. Yep. So I'm not sure if there's so much to say anymore. I think I made most of the points I wanted to make. I think the main one here, right, is I think the biggest difference would have been using the Stu-42s in defense. Not in defense, but in support. And then if you could push here and take this, you can cover, like if you've got this area here, you can cover this road. And you've pretty much blocked off this whole part of the map here for all these objectives. And then pretty much your opponent is on the back foot. Ju-88 with some bombs. Two more of the shitty biplanes with the rocket attack. Probably won't kill the Tiger. These Tigers are damn invincible against these tiny rocket planes. That's the fallback. And there we go. So 40 minutes. 40 minutes of sweat on my part. I mean, I live in a hot country, so it's pretty sweaty anyway, but it's a hard map for that division. So let's have a look at the kills. So the Flak Veerling did get a Blenheim, BF-109 with the Blenheim as well. Tiger E here got a reasonable amount of kills on the infantry. Okay, and the losses, main losses. So the two T-34s to the pack at the start. The T-34 and the VK-109 to this pack that was on the left side. Jakari. Oof. How did this Jakari kill get these 3 kills? Sissy, 3 right Jaeger kills as well. Now this one I would say is probably with the Sissy gets the 150-meter range submachine guns. And the right Jaegers have a lot of submachine guns but only 100-meter range. So if they're at 150 meters against the Sissy Kev, then the Sissy Kev are going to wipe them out because they'll just be using their 3 rifles, right? Ratsuvaki with 3 Jaeger Pioneer kills. What were the incomes? We were both balanced. Yes, and as Beta Slicer says, we play tactical, so starting 500 with 0.75 income. So this is not respecting the 40 mil anti-air here with the 3 fighter kills. And again, two recon, 1 fighter from this one as well. There's the artillery that got the flak and the MG42 right at the end. So I guess if I had to like summarize the main things, respect the anti-air, because that was a lot of fighters lost to the anti-air units there. But then, if you want to use your fighters and your opponent has anti-air like that, then you have to have, I guess then the main thing to take away is the analogy of the tools in the toolbox, right? We bring all these different things not because we will use them, but because we say, if my opponent does this, then I can use this. You don't know if your opponent will, and very often you go through a whole game without even buying one kind of unit. So like, I think in that game I didn't even really buy, or no, I didn't buy any infantry guns, any anti-infantry guns. They are in my division, but I didn't buy any of them. It doesn't mean that I should take them out. It's just that in some situations they are a great unit to have, and you use them and they counter things well. And in some situations you don't need them, or you can make do with other things instead that do some things well. So like then looking at the division build that had no bombers in A or B, I would say that caused some issues because there was no way to quickly counter some things that were happening. Like when you see an expensive artillery piece and it's only defended by 1 cheap anti-air unit, heavy bomber will take that out really easy and you'll get all your points back because that artillery piece costs 115 points and your heavy bomber is going to cost 120. Your heavy bomber is going to get out alive. The artillery isn't. So that's a really quick way to get that point efficiency. Then you have things like the mortars, which were used, but they have to be used, I think, in a specific way. You either do multiple salvos onto a target that is a valuable target for a reason, not just because you can. So like sometimes a couple of those salvos were just onto an anti-tank gun, but there weren't any tanks trying to advance there, or there weren't any tanks to advance with in that area. So like use them to kill things, but have a reason for killing the thing, not just kill the thing because it's there. So you want to kill the anti-tank gun, do it because you have tanks that you want to bring up and support with for the infantry that will be advancing in the town. Rather than, it's like this mindset of you don't use one unit to do one thing. use one unit to do a thing that will allow another unit to do a thing that this then allows other units to do another thing. So you've got like three different kinds of units working together to achieve some kind of objective rather than just a unit shooting at something because it can. I'd advise lower level players to use Maverick if they can, not Juggernaut, being proactive, why not? Trying to use veterancy and aggression because you will not arrive in C phase if you use Juggernaut. 80 points in C sounds really bad, always better to be aggressive. I agree, Flatline is uncompetitive. Hmm. I mean, Maverick, you have to play a really specific way, right? Really specific. It has to be the B phase assault or spearhead, and that is a very particular like tactic or strategy that you can't just like instantly pick up and do well. You have to think about it, you have to see other players do it well and then try to do it yourself. I almost don't have games that are longer than 20 minutes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, but probably that's also because you're better than most of your opponents, right? I mean, it's a very high skill ceiling game. I've said that before. And if you play a lot, then you can get really, really good at the game in a way that other players will not be good at the game. And so I suspect that Barbarian plays the game quite a lot and is quite adept at the game, like Fantix. Okay, how about this? Okay, hit me. What of habits that AI breeds versus good 1v1 habits? Hmm, it's a hard question if I'm honest. Like when I think back to when I first started playing the game and I played so much against AI and how I would play the game versus AI. You can win against AI without really playing well. I guess that's the main thing. Like I did another video recently on stabilizing the front line and force composition where I played against a hard AI and I think I lost 160 points of units the whole game, which is ridiculous. But that's because, once you understand the game well and where to put the right units and how to use them, the AI just can't compete. But I learned that by playing against people as well. And by watching other people play, seeing their replay, seeing what units they use for what situation, and things like that. Oh, thanks for the follow, Barbarian. It only gives micro and map awareness, but will not help with overall game understanding. I mean, there are a lot of different units in Steel Division. So many. Like, so many different divisions, so many different maps, so many different units. Like, when you try to calculate the possible mixes of these things, you get into ridiculously large numbers. So I would say that, like there is some value in practicing against the AI to learn maps and to learn units and divisions and what they do, because you can do it in a, let's say, less stressful environment. So when you keep the variables the same like this, you can practice using different units in different ways and get to understand it better. And you will gain things from that. You will understand it better. You will be able to use them better. You'll have a better understanding of the units and what they do, which you then can take against players. But then the way that players play, I guess really actually the main problem if you play against AI and you want to then play against players is, are you playing against the competitive meta players like Barbarian and Fantix? If you're playing against those players, they're going to wreck your shit in 20 minutes. Like Barbarian said, he never plays a match that goes past 20 minutes, and I absolutely understand why. Because you you hone your skills for playing this maverick way and being able to push from the 30-second mark. You are pushing objectives if you can. Once you reach 15 minutes, you've got some composition of forces that you can run over your opponent with if they're, balanced or something. The first skill to acquire for me is openings. Know how to snipe on roads, where to put anti-tank. If you open well, you are already set for the rest of the game. Yeah. Yeah, openings are important. And in the game we just played, I actually didn't get any good openings because Evan deployed quite conservatively. And that allowed me actually it just allowed me a few inches more of the map for free. And while it's not much, it's still something. And I wasn't trying to let's say push the bar and make a sweaty victory, so I didn't really push it. Just instead relax and build up for the slow victory. But yeah, the actual competitive game is very, very fast, and openings are a big part of it. And sometimes you play against players like Nilla, who will have some ridiculously strong opening on one side of the map that wipes out all your units and advances so far down the map, and you're 2 minutes into the game and you've lost half the map, and it's like, fucking hell. That's the kind of feeling you get. But I guess then, like, conversely to that, I would say one of the other important skills to have is to not just give up and to not just feel like you've lost the game because you've lost some territory. Like you always have to keep in mind that there is a balance of power that is not just based on the territory and the map. The balance of power is mostly, I would say, based on points, or how many points of units you have available compared to your opponent. And if even if you lose half the map from one bad engagement, probably you're still only 100 or 200 points down, and that's not so huge. And especially against an opponent that is at least of similar skill to you, it's not so huge. And you are able to come back from that by continuing to play and not giving up and not getting into this mindset of, oh, I've already lost, so whatever, I'll just throw my units or something like that. Because I think sometimes we are our own worst enemy when it comes to the psychology of losing some territory or an engagement like that. Of course, make your enemy suffer. An advantage for me of playing Maverick is that you don't let the opponent set his tactics. Fuck the enemy. What about Vanguard? Vanguard used to be much better, I think. Now it's eh. Against Maverick, you get what? A 200 point advantage in A? It's not enough. It's not enough. Like against an equal opponent, like I just said, 200 points is not enough for your opponent to win the game. But the difference between Maverick and Vanguard in A phase is 200 points. So the whole point of Vanguard is you're supposed to be super strong in A, but because the developers changed it and they reduced the income for A, you're not the strongest in A anymore. You don't have a significant advantage. I think if Vanguard is going to be viable, it has to be at least 300 points more than any other in A phase. And then you can do something with that. But then how do you stop everyone from taking Vanguard, right? Yeah, Maverick is the new Vanguard, exactly, yeah. Exactly. Like I've played before the Vanguard change. So I played during the Vanguard meta, and now we're in the Maverick meta. And Vanguard just, I mean, unless you're a really, really good player and you can make those 200 points win you the game, which for me is like it's too thin. That's too thin. I mean, if I'm so much better than my opponent, I can win with any income anyway. It doesn't matter. I can play balanced against Vanguard and still win in A phase. Skill generally is much more of a factor than the income, but once you start to get to similar skill levels, then the income starts to really matter. And if you're balanced against Maverick, against someone who's better than you're gonna be crying by 15 minutes. Even Nilla doesn't anymore. I mean, it depends. If Nilla's playing against someone who's as good as him, he wouldn't. But then you get into the more competitive mindset, right? I play 126th in Vanguard sometimes. 126th? 126. Is that the Gorno division? Gorno Strelki? I don't know. I have all the divisions in a where is it? 126. Yeah, Gorno Strelkovi. I actually have in a folder a screenshot of every division and the units that they are most likely to bring. I used to use this when I was playing the solo queue. So whenever I would load into the game and I see what division my opponent is playing, it's impossible to remember every single unit of every single division, right? So I just Alt Tab out, go to my folder, find the screenshot of the division deck build, have a quick look, and I can see like, okay, they get these kind of infantry, they get these kind of tanks, this kind of anti-tank, this kind of anti-air, this kind of air. They're kind of weak in anti-air or something like that. Another advantage of playing Maverick is that you can make mistakes. BT7 Rush. Oh, BT7 Rush. 25 points apiece. I guess that could be fun. Really fast as well, those tanks. Korok meme tank rush. I think the Korok tanks, though, they're a bit too slow to rush with, right? Like, they have a lot of cheap tanks, but I think a bunch of them are pretty slow. Hard to rush with. Best rush is, uh, Panzerner Cromwell rush. That's the best rush. I think they have like 60, 65 road speed, a decent gun, decent armor, only like 50 points a piece. I mean, if they get cluster bombed, you're kind of fucked, though. Anyway, so I think this is. I mean, unless you have any more questions about this game and things that happened, I'm probably gonna end the stream here. I was doing a quick review, right? The tools in the toolbox, the bring supply trucks by themselves. Don't attach them to something. Both kinds of infantry in A, B, and C. Um, yes, the 2 kilometer range thing. I mean, I would say in some ways this is a little bit advanced, but in some ways it's not because actually a lot of the anti-tank guns now they have 1750 range. So if you can just use the C key and judge the forest line and put your HE shell lobber just at that 2 kilometer range outside the 1750, keep it there, you advance with whatever else. When the anti-tank guns reveal themselves, pew pew, you countered that thing. That can work really well. So I'd say try doing that next time. Use those Stu 42s for that and take them at 0 vet so you get both of them. I think you are better to rush trucks of infantry with Korok. I mean, now we're really getting into meme tactics, right? I mean, they're not invincible, those trucks. The right kind of bomber would cause a lot of pain. All right, well, 2 hours. This stream actually lasted much longer than I thought it would for a 40-minute game. All right, well, guys, unless there are any more questions from Evan, I'll wait another minute to see if he does have any. But otherwise, I will say thank you to everyone for coming. It's great chatting with you and discussing the things in Steel Division 2. So Fantix, Barbarian, Beta Slicer, aka Evan, Insha. Thanks to everyone for coming and chatting. It's been very fun. I hope you come back next time. If you have any friends that want to learn the game, would like some replay review and some help, feel free to ask. I'm always happy to do it. But otherwise, I'm going to stop here. So, all right. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Good night. So, thanks to everyone for coming, and I hope to see you next time.